Welcome to one more video presented to you by Insights IAS team as part of your Insta Ethics GS4 initiative. Before I start this video, my deepest apologies because I have not been able to deliver the videos on the right time. I can give you excuses, but that won't be a proper way to go about. What I can do, however, is promise you that in every few days you will have an Insta Ethics video at your disposal which you can use to help achieve your goals in a better manner. Now in this video, I will be talking about the next part of your UPSC syllabus, that is role of family, society and educational institutions in inculcating values. Now, when I say the term values, you would have come across one more of our earlier videos where we discussed about values, where we also discussed about two other terms, ethics and morality. If you have clarity on this term values, if you know how you can compare these values to two other terms, well and good. If you don't have that clarity, please go back to our earlier videos and do study about it. Alright? Now, I will tell you what is the importance of this topic from your exam perspective, and then we will just briefly discuss about values. The moment when we are born, we don't instinctively have values in us. Throughout our life, during various stages, be it in our family, be it as part of educational institution, be it as part of society, we pick so many values. These values could be positive in nature, these values could be negative in nature. If you're living in a family where they emphasize on empathy, you will develop this empathy in your dealings with all others in the society. Now, if you grow up in a family where you see certain negative comments made against a gender, negative comments made against a community, you tend to pick up these small traits and they either consciously or unconsciously influence your behaviors. Now, when you're put in a field where you are an officer, you are an administrator, you should be able to take out the positive values, the best values that you have learned in all these three stages of your life and be able to implement them in a balanced manner so that it is in consonance with your constitutional values. When you have a negative value and when you have constitutional values, they are absolutely not matching together. That is when a dilemma is created. The dilemma can also be created when you have learned certain things, positive things from your family, school or educational institution, but because of one reason or the other, while you are an administrator, you can't give effect to it. In the sense, I'll give you an example. This is a case study. There's a very old lady who comes to meet you. She does not have documentations. Documentations that will help her to be a beneficiary for a subsidy scheme that she badly requires. Now, if she had documents, it was a very easy thing to give her the benefits. She does not have documentations. You have grown up with that empathetic attitude in your life. Will you break the law? Will you go against the standard operating procedures that was given to you by your administration? This chapter is very important for you from your exam perspective, both section A as well as section B. In your section B case studies, there will always be a value conflict. When two values, it might be positive and negative values, there is a conflict. It might be conflict between two positive values as well. In your ethics GS4 paper, it is often the latter of which will be asked for you. They will put you or create the dilemma situation for you and then they will start asking questions about it. Be very careful. From section A perspective, how will they ask questions? This is what is important for us. Family, society and educational institution. What role do they play in how we get values, how we express values? This is the first stage of questions they might ask. But this is very few. When you look at the trend, they will not ask you what role family plays in value acquisition and value expression. They're no longer asking questions, direct questions like that. What, however, they will ask is, the nature of family, my friends, the nature of society and educational institutions are undergoing some change. Couple of decades ago, joint family was the norm. But in the present scenario, we have nuclear families. Nuclear families where both the parents are working. Now, in such an altered family structure, what kind of value are being transmitted to children? Are children being able to express their values? Are parents capable enough to find out if there is anything going wrong? Are they able to understand the values of the children? The society in which we lived a couple of decades ago, over there LPG schemes, all those reforms were not there. Now, we have become a globalized society. There is emergence of social media and whatnot. How are these new emerging trends affecting the ability of the families or the education institution or even the society in inculcating values to an individual? Right? Is it creating a positive effect or a negative effect? All these things you should know. Because 9 out of 10 times in your section A, part of your UPSC GS4 paper, the questions will be on such line only. Alright? Anyways, let me not waste any more time on this, because this is what is going to be the way the UPSC will ask questions in both section A and section B. Alright? Let me first start by giving you a very brief introduction. It's like a summary of what we discussed in one of our earlier videos. What are values basically? Values are the personal framework. Alright? These are strong beliefs that guide us in what we think, in what we do. Alright? And these values, we're not born with it. As I already told you, we tend to pick these values when we are part of our family, when we are part of our society and educational institutions. Values can be both be positive or negative. While growing up, you might have certain value, but as and when you mature, that value might undergo a change. Growing up, you might have had a very hot-headed temper, but once you become part of the society, once you start interacting with people, being part of workplace organizations, that patience automatically sets in you. Alright? Values vary among individuals and across culture and time as well. When we talk about American culture, over there, they emphasize on individualism, individual freedom. All of you have come across American movies where you find the kids leaving their parents and trying to find their own feet after 18 years of age. But when you look at Indian culture, across all religions, we believe that we owe a duty, a moral duty towards our parents. Right? Values varies across culture. Values varies across time as well. What example? I've already given you the example of anger transforming itself into patience as in when we mature in life. It could be opposite also. Anyways, I'll give you one more example. If you're living in a family where they have emphasized on gender equality, where you see your father treating your mother in an appropriate manner, you tend to pick these small values in you and you tend to ingrain them in yourself. But if it is the opposite, alright, then you might tend to perpetuate the age-old notions of patriarchy that people have. To change a value, it's not so easy. Whatever crude values we have, negative values we have, we expect these crude negative values to be molded into proper ones in our educational institution, in using our school curriculum and everything. Some of the negative values we have might also be altered by the society. But at times, the society itself will add more negative values to us. How all this happens, we'll discuss at a later point in time. What I want to establish now in your mind is, values are our strong beliefs that help us to conduct our life, that give us a direction to our thoughts and actions. Values varies across individual. No two individual will have same set of values. And even in an individual, alright, all these values, there might be one value that they give maximum emphasis to. When I speak about Mahatma Gandhi ji, what were the values that he gave emphasis to over all others? It was honesty and non-violence. He never compromised on these two values. When I talk about Abraham Lincoln, he never compromised on the value of honesty. That is why he was called as Honest Abe. As an administrator, they might ask you a question. What are the values? They've already asked this question. What are the values which are sacrosanct to you, which are significant to you? In such a scenario, pick out the values which are part of your constitution. Pick out the values which are mentioned in another part of your ethics syllabus, public service values. Right? I hope you understand. Moving on, let me talk about what role these institutions play in an individual's life. What are these roles? The first one is, it provides an identity. For an individual, being part of a family means a lot. Alright? The institutions also provide us with emotional support. Emotional support, it could be in terms of when we are facing any trouble, when we are facing any stress, we need our friends, we need our family. If we are able to get that help from them in a readily manner, that is very good. But in recent times, that's not happening readily, is it not? You have families where both the parents are working. Alright? You have society. Even though we are becoming closer and closer in terms of the whole world becoming one big village, we are drifting apart. All of us are engaged in our own bubble of life. When we open our social media, we look for support on social media. And more often than not, we don't receive any support, but rather what we receive are those negative things which will make us further depressed and anxious in life. Right? Emotional support. What role these institutions play if they work in a right manner? Skill acquisition. Right? In your family, in your schools, in the society, you will be given those skills which are very much required for your material well-being. Alright? Moving on, motivation to increase one's productivity. Motivation to increase one's productivity. As a UPSC aspirant, when you look at some of the challenges that your fellow UPSC aspirants have faced in their life and still managed to achieve success, this acts as a motivation to you to improve yourself better. All of you have your own reasons to become IAS officers, IPS officers and whatnot. This motivation you have derived in one way or the other from your family members or your society, or it might be because of that one extraordinary teacher who made you believe that you have what it takes to become an officer and serve the society in a selfless manner. The role the institutions play in our life. Very big. Right? It develops our attitude, preferences and influences our actions. I've already given you an example of family. In an educational institution, if you have grown up in an educational institution where they have encouraged critical thinking, where they expect you to ask questions and they are answering your questions without judging you, where they are focusing on developing that critical thinking ability, this critical thinking will be part and parcel of all your life. When you look at the educational system as of now, you all know to what extent critical thinking is encouraged. Alright? Because more often than not, educational institutions, they tend to focus on creating students who have excellent grades. Education has become a race. All of you know this, right? If all these institutions work in a proper manner, we will be able to create all these things for the better. Alright? Let me give you some examples. Right? Over here, you see Nancy Matthews Elliott. Who is she? She is the mother of one of the greatest inventors we have had in all our life, Thomas Alva Edison. All of you know what he gave us. He brought us from darkness towards light. Now, Edison, when he was growing up, when he was part of his school, his teacher termed him as addled, A-D-D-L-E-D, addled. It was a derogatory term given to any individual or a student who was not able to keep up with the teachings. Only later on, we discovered that Mr. Edison suffered from something called as dyslexia. He was not able to pick up what his teachers were saying because he had dyslexia. One day, alright, when his teacher gave him this derogatory remark, his mother went to the school, reasoned with them, but she never lost hope when she came back home. Even though Edison's teachers gave this derogatory remarks even to his mother, she did not lose hope. She came back and she tutored him herself. Imagine if she herself believed that her son was addled, we would have lost out on one of the most brilliant inventors of our life, of human life as such. The role the woman played, she believed in her son. And this belief in her son's capability was something that helped him later to invent the light bulbs, even after facing so many hundreds of failures in life. We all have our parents who push us to be better, who have unimaginable belief in our capabilities. Right? So, what I am suggesting you as of now is, like all other videos, I will be discussing some examples, but I want you from your side to give me some more examples that you have come across. It might be from your life, it might be something that you have read, and if you can, please post it in the comment section. If you can't post it in the comment section, make a note of it by yourself so that these kind of examples will add a lot more value in your examination. Alright, moving on. You have one more individual called as Kamala Sohoni. Who is this individual? Now, she is given the designation, she is recognized for being the first Indian woman to get a PhD in a scientific discipline. Remember, this happened in 20th century before independence. Even at that particular point in time, Indian society was patriarchal through and through. But Miss Kamala, she got encouragement from her father, from her uncle, who both were graduates. They pushed her to follow her dream. She eventually got into Tata Institute of Sciences. Now we know this Tata Institute of Science as Indian Institute of Science, which is in Bangalore. But admission was not given easily to Miss Kamala. Why was it not given? At that point in time, IISc had a director who was a Nobel laureate himself. Who was that? It was Sir C.V. Raman. Sir C.V. Raman was not willing to give Miss Kamala admission because she was a girl. Sir C.V. Raman was afraid that giving admission to a girl would in some way or the other disrupt the environment in the college. But her father, her uncle and herself, they pushed Sir C.V. Raman They requested him multiple times and eventually she was given admission. The story does not end here. In her education career, she met one excellent teacher called as M. Srinivasaiah. It was this teacher who taught her in a way where there was no gender bias as such. He shared the knowledge that he had with her like he did with all others. She worked in the field of nutrition management. Remember, nutrition management during our immediate independence was a very important field of research because at that point in time, our country was not secure in terms of food. Food security was not there. And she worked on that field. She would not have been able to achieve what she achieved in life if not for her father and uncle who gave her that belief, who gave her that courage. And also her teacher M. Srinivasaiah, who gave her the necessary skills required to be the top of the class. When she was doing very good in her studies, in her research, and when she graduated, Sir C.V. Raman was convinced that women are those set of individuals who have unimaginable set of potential. And eventually IISc was opened for women as well. A person leading by example, a person bringing a change in how educational system was conceived back then. Alright? Here also you have family, educational institution playing a positive role in terms of increasing the courage of the person. And in turn, the person acted as a role model or an example to bring about a major change in the society. Kamala Sohoni. Right? Moving on. When I come to the society perspective, when I talk about our culture, more often than not in the present times we focus on the negative things. There is rise in fundamentalism across all religions, even though they are fringe elements. As of now, I am just going to focus on the positive aspect, which is in a majority of all of us. Indian society has always been accommodative in nature. If it was not accommodative in nature, we would never have been able to acquire this tremendous diversity that we are all famous for. Each and every country has diversity. What separates those countries from ours is the amount of epic, tremendous diversity we have. This tremendous diversity would not have been possible if we as a society did not emphasize on values such as love, respect and tolerance. This is one more image that reminds all of you probably of what the idea of India is. Here you see a Muslim lady with her children who are dressed as Krishna. Right? Love, respect and tolerance across all religions. Then you have one more image over here. Here you see Ustad Zakir Hussain carrying the mortal remains of his long companion, colleague, Pandit Shiv, who was a Santur player. A Muslim and a Hindu collaborating together throughout their life in all these magical jugalbandis. And even at the moment of death, that unity is there. Role of society in inculcating values, unity in diversity. And this is a major topic in your GS1 society paper. Right? All these three important phases of our life, being part of family, being part of society, being part of education, they have the extreme capability of pushing us to do better. But at times what happens, we tend to pick certain negative traits from family, from society and from educational institution as well. These negative traits, they create prejudice in us. At times they might also create hatred in us. Right? how to deal with all these things, that is one more dimension that your UPSC will focus on. Let me move on and talk about the present status of situation in the world vis-a-vis all these three important phases of our life. The structure of the family is undergoing a change. From joint family, we are moving into nuclear families. We are seeing increased cases of divorces happening in the society. We are seeing increased cases where the parents are not able to understand the thought process, the behavior of children. The term we use to signify this is called as generation gap. When parents are not able to understand their kids in a proper manner, where kids are not able to understand their parents in a proper manner, that is when it leads to anxiety and depression amongst both these sections. If you don't deal with anxiety and depression in a proper manner, addiction to certain things might be increased. Right? The emergence of technology, the emergence of materialism is also pushing us. Family, when we were growing up, when I was growing up, education as such was treated in a different manner. We were taught how to enjoy the process. But now, the times in which we are living, we are trying to make it more competitive, and family is also playing a role in that. Right? We have this very famous song in Three Idiots where they have emphasized on that. 99%, if you get 99%, you will get a guddy. If you get anything less than that, you will get a chuddy, a stick. Is it not? How to overcome this? That is what we have to focus on. The next thing, factors such as emergence of technology, growth of individualism are fundamentally altering the interaction between the parents and the kids. I've already spoken about it, right? Social media. Kids of the present generation, they're not opening up to their parents. They seek this identity, they seek this emotional support on social media. And all of you by this time around know that social media cannot provide you what you're seeking in the right way. It can push you further into anxiety, into depression if you're not careful enough. The likes, the dislikes and the comments at the end of the day will not help you to become a better person. But unfortunately, this is a trend we are not realizing. Right? Moving on. What are the other few things that I've written? Educational institutions' role is seen as restricted to merely giving skills to the students. We have designed an education system at this point in time which either knowingly or unknowingly is making education more materialistic. Just getting skills, getting good grades. Even if a teacher wants to involve in moral education, in ethical education, they might not be able to do so because there is so much of pressure and targets imposed on them. Their whole way of working might also be controlled in the minutest manner. That is also possible. Teachers, alright, might feel inadequate in providing this because of the way we have set up our educational system. The emphasis again in our education system should move away from just skills and competition, and we should find a balance between not just skill education but also moral and ethical education. That is very important. Alright? The other thing, there has been a general decline in the societal values in recent times. This is true. Where we grew up believing in values such as love, respect and tolerance for all without any discrimination. Now we are living in a society where we see an increase in the values of hatred. Where we are seeing an increase in a value called as transiency. What does this mean? We make new acquaintances every day. New acquaintances, but we never build a relationship with them. We never get to know them outside of what they mean to us in terms of demand and supply, out of what services they provide. When you go to a rural area part of the country, when you talk to them, they will tell you the history about all the people who are living in that area. But when you come to an urban area, that's not the case. We all are living in our own bubbles. When someone needs a help on the road because of an accident, we have come across so many incidents where the people, they are just walking by without even paying an attention to the pain, the suffering that individual is facing on the road. This is an attitude that we need to change. All these factors which are fundamentally altering the role of family, society and educational institution in bringing about the better in us, all these factors needs to be addressed in a proper way. And the government is doing certain things to help in this. What is it doing? It has brought out this program called as Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, where interaction between groups of individuals of differing cultures are encouraged so that there is a lot more tolerance, lot more understanding on each other's culture. We can regain that love, respect and tolerance when we have more interactions. The government recently brought out National Education Policy 2020. Over here, we have emphasized not just on skill education, but also on moral education. We have included provisions where we have given flexibility to the teachers to design the framework as per the needs of the classroom. Right? We can talk about that. In terms of family, when you look at the last 2 years, we were pushed into a domain where work from home was a necessity. There was no other option. We had to work from home. There are many companies now, private companies, who are thinking about permanent work from homes as well. If not permanent, a hybrid model. The government in itself is also coming up with a proposal. It is deliberating on a proposal where we will work for 4 days in a week and 3 days will be a holiday. Right? When you give holidays for 3 days, it will be of immense help. Alright? So that families could interact better. They could spend more time with each other. All these things, right, are steps in the right direction. Okay? Now let me just take one previous year question paper and help you, alright, apply what we have discussed today, the framework basically. What is this question? The current internet expansion, emergence of internet has instilled a different set of values, cultural values, which are in conflict with traditional values. Discuss 150 words. Here, like I told you in the first part of our video, they will ask about those factors which are emerging and which are fundamentally altering the role of family, society and educational institution. Probably the greatest emerging factor which has changed our notions on values is internet. Alright, how is this internet leading to a different set of cultural values which are in conflict with our traditional values? Discuss. Are they always in conflict? At times, does internet help us to provide a platform for our positive values? What are the steps that we need to take to reduce these conflicts? This will be the general important points that needs to be represented in the body of the answer. The next video of ours, I will give you a framework, I will give you examples and also a structure and how to go about. But I want you to take up this question and practice it. Alright, try to write answer for this question within 7 to 8 minutes. Alright, thank you for your time and we will see you back soon. Keep studying and please take care of yourself. Thank you.